Good morning, my name is Andrea Trattner. I am from Budapest, Hungary, being a doctoral student at Eötvös Loránd University, and I am going to present you a study about cooperative competition and business citizenship written together with Professor Márta Fülöp. Both competition and cooperation have been researched by representatives from different disciplines, typically with each focusing on its own discipline, with no systematic collaboration between biologists, geneticists, psychologists, social psychologists, anthropologists, and economists, so that the scientific observations are confined within a single discipline. My doctoral research aims to understand the knowledge barriers of competition and cooperation, the interdisciplinary study of the combination of these two, focusing on business. Competition is used in our everyday life from kindergarten until old age. We compete in sports, in knowledge, politics, business. We always would like to win, and it is very important how can we achieve to be the best or better than others. There are a lot of possibilities in our decisions to achieve our goals. We can be cooperative in some parts of the competition, or the competition can be destructive when one would like to destroy the partner. Co-opetition is used by Nalebuff and Brandenburger from the words cooperation and competition by merging these words. Although the concept of co-opetition only appeared in academic discourse in the second half of the 90s, the phenomenon, which combines the characteristics of both competition and cooperation, was already present in business and in other fields of science. Brandenburger and Nalebuff define co-opetition as a business strategy for firms that combines competition and cooperation with a win-win situation for all parties involved. Competitive cooperation, cooperative competition, comparison can also be found in the literature. However, the competition has become established. In the lives of companies, there must be both a cooperation. They cooperate to create a larger market, and competition. They compete to gain a larger share of that market. They cooperate to make the pie bigger, and they compete to get the biggest slice of the pie. Competition is a strategy based on game theory. The foundations of game theory were laid by János Neumann in 1928, and later in the theory of games and economic behavior, co-written with the neoclassical mathematician economist Oskar Morgenstern. Mathematics, economics, sociology, psychology, biology, and computer science are the disciplines most affected by game theory. In 1999, János Harsányi, a Hungarian-born economist, was awarded the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics, shared with others, for his research in game theory. The goal of my doctoral study is to explore how leaders of business organizations in Hungary perceive their own and their business partners' competitive cooperative strategies, how they perceive competition, co-opetition in the Hungarian business life. In order to find out how it works, I used the method of focus groups. 3 focus groups were conducted. The focus group sessions were video recorded and transcribed verbatim and analyzed based on Brown and Clark's thematic analysis. According to Barbour and Kitzinger's definition, the focus groups are designed to explore a set of specific questions about the participants. Focus groups are group discussions that focus on specific questions. Instead of asking questions to each participant in turn, the researcher encourages participants to talk to each other, ask each other questions, tell each other anecdotes, comment on each other's experiences. Ethical approval was asked for the focus group discussion, and participants were informed in writing of the framework for the group discussion. At the beginning of each session, participants signed an information and consent form. All 3 focus group discussions were videotaped by an external contractor. All this was done in compliance with the necessary ethical and data protection rules. In all cases, a confidentiality agreement was signed with the person who made the recording. There were 23 business people participants, 17 men and 6 women, representing leading companies in Hungary, mostly based in Budapest. They were CEOs of medium and large companies, all over 45, most between 50 and 60, some over 60. They were from both manufacturing and service companies, from the banking and insurance sectors, IT and construction company executives, FMCG executives, consultants, financial services and certification company executives, marketing and market research business organizations executives. Let me present you 3 cases. In the first one, trust is the key word. There were 2 companies from the same market which tried to cooperate in some business. The participant of the focus group told us that from a rational point of view, each data said they should cooperate. One had the knowledge, the other had not, and vice versa. But I could not trust the partner. My emotions and my intuition said not to make business with them, and also my team felt similar. This is a quotation. So there was no business. The second story happened last December. I can tell you with the name of the participants because it is a well-known case here in Hungary. It was all over the press. One of the leaders of the involved companies took part in the focus group and told the story. Here in Hungary, the shops are open on Sundays. Last year, the 24th of December was on Sunday. Usually the shops are full on the 24th of December because people buy presents and food for Christmas because the next days every shop is closed. On 8th December, a Friday late afternoon, Lidl published a press statement which announced that each Lidl shop would be closed on the 24th of December. They took the decision according to the participant of the focus group. It was a brilliant decision from employer's point of view. This news came out on Friday afternoon, a brilliant timing, because from that point onwards communication was dead. No one of the competitors could issue a press release about anything, but basically all decision makers of the other retail chain thought to be quiet. Nobody was allowed to communicate on this issue. Everybody assessed the situation very quickly, so they did not even talk to each other about it. And then it started to leak out who was on the side. Everyone made their own decision, whether it was right for their business, whether they needed it, whether they needed it for their employer's success or for building their brand. And then, after that, came two more joiners, Rossmann and Pennymarket. Lidl's communication was so strong that its customers had bought everything the previous days. They were also a bit lucky that it was a Sunday. If it hadn't been Sunday, it would have been much more complicated. And then the Storytellers Company was basically the one who stayed open, and then they started pushing this afterwards, that we stayed open. It is sure that the decision makers of Lidl thought about their action, taking into consideration the competitors' reactions. According to the game theory, one should take into consideration as many actions and reactions as it is possible to decide what action to take in order to achieve the desired success. In the third case, I intended to present you a decision maker of a bank emphasized the importance of market sharing instead of monopoly. He said, if there are two banks competing for a customer and the two banks are serving the same customer, it is much more likely that I will rationally assess whether the other bank will do the same and we will serve each other side by side. This is a good example for co-opetition. There can be a competition between two banks, but they intend to keep in the competition the competitor because their own service improves through competition. Summing up the three focus group studies, we can conclude that the dominant mentality in Hungarian business is that of a competitive or even zero-sum game. Although this is not a Hungarian specialty, it is a general feature of business life, but it is particularly strong in Hungary. The extreme competitive mentality is particularly evident in price competition, which means that companies in Hungary can only work with low prices, even compared to the neighboring Eastern European countries. They see opportunities for competition and cooperation and give examples of this in cases where one company has a competence that the other lacks, and it is better to cooperate than to develop that competence. There is no systematic strategy for co-opetition. The decision makers in my focus groups emphasized trust as a key word. Competition is the default mentality, and when cooperation does develop between firms in a competitive market, it tends to erode over time, either by the firm lacking the competence, acquiring the competence and turning the relationship into a purely competitive one, or by observing the cooperating partner. In the relationship with the competitors, no systematic methods or techniques are used to determine whether to pursue a competitive or a cooperative or a competitive and cooperative strategy. This may be largely subjective, based primarily on the perception of trust, or it may be the result of a more systematic decision, but the consideration is not whether to pursue a competitive or cooperative relationship. All three focus groups treated competition and cooperation as two separate poles. In the context of cooperation with competitors, the focus was on cartels and competition rules. Necessity is often the mother of co-opetition because it is not in the mind as an existing business strategy. As a conclusion, I can say that although we try to ask them stories when cooperation and competition appears at the same time, they told us cases when cooperation and competition were opposing each other, and their mindset did not change. From my point of view, a good citizen and a good businessman or woman has to understand the importance of competition. It is important to cooperate and compete at the same time, because you can win the endless game if you cooperate in some cases and compete in others, and let the game not end in a tie and keep your competitor alive. Thank you for your attention.